Hello guys, Susano here, and welcome to my guide to the build of Tribute XIV. This fight has a total of 3 phases, so let's start with the first phase. Start the fight making the boss face away from the group. In our case, he's facing north, while our group usually stays behind. The first attack that Susano gonna use is a minor tank buster. It does around 20 to 30k of damage and it has no cast time. The next mechanic is churning. Susano will mark 4 players with the churning status. By the time that the mark goes off, the player marked with it must not be doing any kind of action. Just make sure you are still before the marker on your head is about to disappear. If you fail in doing this, the player marked with churning will receive a massive damage and will get 1 thunder debuff status. Usually it's not enough to cause a wipe, but better safe than sorry. The next mechanic is Bright Storm. Susano will mark 1 player that will be knocked back, and right after, a massive AoE will appear on the arena. The only safe place is a small line on the ground between Susano and the player that was hit by the red mark. The player who had the red mark will next be marked with share damage, and must come back to the group before the mark goes off, or he will die. The next attack is Rising Kaiko, followed by Churning. Susano will create 5 pools under 5 players. The players must leave the area in order to avoid death or damage with another Thunder stack debuff. Susano will also cast Churning 4 players again. After those 4 players leave the pool area, they just have to stay still so that they won't be hit by the Churning. Again, if the player with the Churning status is doing any kind of action, he will one more time receive high damage and another Thunder stack debuff. The next part is similar with the Bright Storm mechanic, but with a Thunder Cloud included. The Bright Storm part works as the same as before. The difference is that a Thunder Cloud will spawn close to the arena. It can appear anywhere around it. And it will create a line AoE that will target the same player with the red mark on his head. The best way to complete this mechanic is to have the player with the red mark be knocked back to the right position, so that the AoE will not hit the other players in the group. For example, if the thundercloud appears on the north or south side, make the red mark player position himself on Susano's right or left side. But if the thundercloud appears on the east or west side, make the player stay behind the boss. This way, your group can avoid being hit by the Thunder AoE and keep progressing the fight. After concluding this part, Susano will enter his second phase. In this phase, a white mark will appear close to the center of the arena, and one of the tankers must take it, so that he can defend against Susano's attack. During this time, 4 energy balls will appear in 4 different positions. All the 4 balls will move to the center where the players are, and if it hits a player that is not a tanker, it will cause high damage and most likely cause his death, what can probably bring the group to a wipe. The way to prevent this is having the off tank to take the energy balls before they come close to the group. The energy balls will always appear in the same sequence, first on the northeast, then southeast, then southwest, and finally northwest. Remember to assign 1 healer to heal the group and the other healer to heal the off tank that's being hit by the energy balls. Now, the tanker who took the first sword strike will have physical defense debuff. Because of this, the tankers will need to swap positions for the second sword strike. After swap positions, just do the same thing as before and you'll be fine to start this phase 3. Before phase 3 starts, Susano will hit the center of the arena causing high damage. Pop up your group defense cooldowns and heal everyone after. The center now has a hole crossing the entire arena. If a player stays inside for too long, he will die. But the players can still cross this hole, as long as they don't stay inside for too long. And this hole has an important position for the following mechanics. Phase 3 starts with a tank buster followed by defense debuff. The tank buster has now a cast time and the tankers will need to pop up their defense cooldowns in order to survive it. The tankers will need to swap positions after the tank buster, or the tank with defense debuff will receive high damage for every normal attack from Susano. The next mechanic is Levin Bolt followed by Electrocution. Susano will mark a player with Thunder. Because the arena is wet, this player must go to the other side of the arena so that after the Thunder, that player will not hit the whole group with Electrocution. This mechanic will repeat 4 times with 4 different players except the main tanker. Now Susano will use XIV. This is a simple AoE damage attack. Just use your group AoE heals and you should be fine. The next mechanic is another Bright Storm with Thundercloud. Same thing as before. Be aware of the position of the Thundercloud and position the red mark player in the position needed for it. Right after, Susano will cast another Tank Buster, so make sure to pop your defense cooldowns and swap tankers after it. Now Susano will repeat the Thunder and XIV mechanics. Just do the same as before and you should be fine. XIV repeats now, but this time with 3 hits instead of 2. Just make sure you heal everyone up. In the next mechanic, Susano will imprison one player just as the same as the normal mode. The only difference is that now you have one more prison than before. Susano will also cast a Tank Buster followed by the same water pools of the first phase. Avoid the water pools and be prepared to swap tankers. Now, Susano will use the same Thunder mechanic as before. The only difference is that the players marked by Thunder marks will not be able to move. So instead of one player crossing the arena, the whole group, except by the players with Thunder marks, must go to the other side of the arena to avoid electrocution. The next mechanic is another Bright Storm, but without the Thunder Clouds. Instead, you're gonna have a Churning status. To easily pass this part, just have the players with Churning status stuck in the same line as the red mark player ahead of time, so that they will not need to move and just wait for the player with the share damage to come back to them. Right after the share damage, Susano will cast another Water Pulse, so be ready to move. After another Tank Buster and one more swap, the Thunder Marks mechanic happens again. Same thing as before. Move the whole group away from the side of the arena with the player marked. Now you're gonna find another XIV and another Water Pulse followed by Churning status. The only difference is that after the Churning status goes off, more 5 Water Pools will appear right after. Avoid the Water Pools, wait for Churning status goes off, and avoid the Water Pools again. And that's it! From now on, the mechanics will basically repeat themselves. Congratulations for your kill, and I hope this guide was useful. And I also hope you guys didn't mind my horrible accent. Anyway, see you next time!